Hello and welcome to my Unity crash course. If you're starting out in my mobile games class and you've already got Unity experience, you don't need to watch these videos. Maybe skim them over and see if there's anything in here you could brush up on a little bit. And this is the first video in what will be a series. I'm going to introduce Unity. This is for people who've never used it before at all. If you're signed up for my mobile games class and you've never used Unity before, that probably means you have some programming experience. That's great. Let's now get you caught up with what Unity's got, because some of the students in the class will have used this before. Let's all get on the same page. I'm going to start here with the Unity Hub. Launch the Unity Hub. I recommend that. What is the Hub? The Hub allows you to have multiple projects, as we see here, and once we get rolling in class, you're going to have several projects. Sometimes our projects are in different versions of the Unity editor. As you can see right here, I got a 2020.3 and 2021.3. I got a 2019.3. I got a 2019.4. Each of the teams that you're working with will have chosen a different version of Unity, probably based on when they first started. And sometimes people are reluctant to upgrade for one reason or another, and so they'll fix their version. The Unity Hub allows you to have multiple versions of the editor and to manage that very easily. So let's start with this. Launch your Unity Hub. You won't have any projects yet. You will use your chosen Git client to pull down a project, a starter project, from the class repo. I have a whole bunch of repos, as you can see, and one of them is the Hello World project. And I don't have that here on my list yet. This is the first time I'm opening Hello World here on this computer. So I'll take you through how to do that. Using the Hub, to create a brand new project from scratch, we'll use the New project. But if we've downloaded a starter project, we'll use the Open button. So we will then just browse to the project we want. And you should see in there the Assets folder. When you've got the right directory, there'll be an Assets folder. And sure enough, I see my Hello World has an Assets. I'm going to open that. And sure enough, it's complaining that the Hello World was created with 2021.2.14 F1. And apparently I don't have that version on this computer. So case in point, I have so many different versions of Unity, and I created this on my laptop, so apparently I created it with a different version. It's not a problem. Just choose something else. I'm going to choose something as close as possible. Whoops. Here we go. I'm going to choose something as close as possible to 2.14, 21.2.14. I got 21.2.8 and I got 21.3.0. Let's go with the 3.0. And I want to boot it up in Android mode, because this is mobile games after all. So let's do that. So you saw it ask me, and it's going to ask me again, do I really want to upgrade this? Yeah, I do. Okay, here we are. We have opened the Unity editor. The Unity editor is available on Mac and Windows. I'm showing Windows at this point. All right, so what even is Unity? Unity is a game engine complete with an editor. We are looking at the editor here. This will allow us to place game objects and create scenes and games. We will be building games with this. Unity handles 2D games, 3D games, VR games, and every major platform out there. So iOS and Android will be the major platforms for our mobile games, but also you can do Windows games, Mac games, Linux games, PlayStation games, Xbox games, Nintendo games. All of these things would be supported on here. Unity has a free mode that you can use, and that will support most of those targets. You'll need special permission from Nintendo to support Nintendo games, and from Sony for PlayStation games and stuff like that. Right here in the middle of this big window is the Scene tab. The Scene tab, this is our view on the world, you'll see next to it is the game tab. And this is what that looks like from the game's point of view. And we'll get to that. Over here is the hierarchy pane. We'll spend a lot of time in the hierarchy pane. On the right is the inspector pane. We'll look at that. Down here, we have two tabs. We have the console tab and the project tab. The project tab shows our assets folder. Now, every single asset, every asset within your entire Unity project must be somewhere underneath that assets folder. If you can use it in the game, it is in the assets folder. Now, it does bring up, occasionally we have assets that are not part of the game, like maybe they are design documents. I wouldn't put them under assets because they are not going to be used within the game. Let's see what can we do with this editor. We can create game objects. So we'll go to game object and let's create a 3D cube. There you go. You say create cube and we got a cube. We can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. Oh, hold on, I'm in 2D mode. The editor supports 2D and 3D mode, and you can see here I have Hello World is a 2D game. Many of our games are going to be 2D games. Let's put it into 3D mode. Just toggle that on and off. Now I'm in 3D mode and I can look at this as a 3D scene. Now when I hold the Alt key and I left mouse button, I can change my view and look at this from different angles. Holding right mouse button, I can change my view like as if I was in a first person game. I can look up, I can look down, look right, look left, and I can WASD. I'm going to use my fingers here to WASD around, and now it's like this is pretty comfortable for anyone who's played many first person games before. Very classic first person controls. So let's show that again. If I hold the Alt key and left mouse button, I can look around the scene. I'm rotating as if it were like a third person type of game, maybe moving my camera around. If I right mouse button, I can look around as a first person mode and I can WASD around the scene. So that's getting around the scene, and I've created an object. Let's take a quick look at how that object has appeared in the various panes. In the hierarchy, we list all the objects that are in the scene, and I have created a cube. There's my cube. We can rename the cube. Let's rename it as my cube. I don't know. There's the cube. We see that there's a camera somewhere in this scene. Let's double click on the camera to cause the scene view to focus on it. There you go. There's the camera right there. And you can see this box that has been highlighted. That's the view that the camera gets. That's the camera's view for this scene. And down here, when you click on the camera, down here you get a little mini view of what the game view will be. I mentioned the game tab, it's right here. This is what, when I hit play, this is what I'm going to see. And I got a mini view of it there. And we have a visualization of what the camera is seeing here. Now, you'll notice it's not a view cone. We don't have a view cone here, we only have a straight view. Let's take a look at the properties of the camera over in the inspector pane. Over here in the inspector pane, that's right here, we see what we have selected. I have selected the cube, I have selected the camera. What are the properties of the camera? Lots of properties, lots of properties. Let's start with the obvious things. The position of the camera, rotation of the camera, and then we see that it has this camera property on it. Unity uses a component-based system, and we will discuss that at some length later. For now, let's just consider this a property. We have camera properties. And the camera has many options, many options. And one of them is that it's an orthographic projection, meaning there's no perspective on this camera. And that's useful for a 2D game. If we wanted a 3D game, we would probably want a perspective view. And now that I've hit perspective, we can see that we do have a view cone if you use perspective. And I can change the field of view. Just narrow field of view, wide field of view. I can Control Z to undo. Let's put it back to the orthographic the way it was. Okay, so this is the inspector pane. That's where we'll edit the individual properties of an object. And over here is the hierarchy pane where we see all the objects. Okay, let's take the hierarchy pane to the next level. And get rid of my cube. Let's create a stick person. Stick person, we're gonna want a sphere, and that'll be the head. And let's create, let's say a cylinder for the body. You know, maybe something like that. Let's zoom in there a little bit, middle mouse wheel. Let's rename these things. We'll say this is the head. This is the body. Capital letters, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Let's make legs. 3D object, cylinder. So this will be leg right. And let's make another one. Cylinder, leg left. Okay, cool. Only it should be, I'm saying it's pretty obvious that those legs and the body's too fat. Body's too thick. I want it to be a stick person, not like a, you know, not like a log person, right? Let's make a stick person. I mentioned that there's a scale. There's a scale on here, and we can adjust these things. So let's scale down. On which axis do we want to scale down? We can see the red, green, and blue axes, and it shows you up here which are which. Red is X, green is Y, and blue is Z. So I want to not scale the green axis Y, but I do want to scale the X and the Z. And the easy thing is, let's just type it in. Let's say 0.2, 0.2. Okay, so maybe at 0.2, let's move these things a little bit out of the way. 0.2, that looked like a good stick, man. Cool. All right, let's do the legs now. I'm gonna multi-select, so I click, shift-click to get them both. I can also sort of just drag select them. And let's do the same thing, 0.2, 0.2. And then the legs, maybe they shouldn't be as long as the body. So let's take it to 0.5? No, 0.7. 0.8? 0.8. Okay, cool. I'm happy with those. Let's get those rotated into position. I am in movement mode, as you can see here. This is movement mode. And so I can just drag it by grabbing on this colored axis, drag the thing around and drag it into position. Okay. There's also like this little, I can go into 2D mode to drag it around with that. Okay. And then I'm gonna want to change the angle though. How do I get it angled? That would be with rotation. Now I can fiddle around with the rotations here. I can type in numbers. And maybe I want to type in the number. Let's say 20, let's make it 30 degrees. 30 degree angle. That looks good. And now that it's in that position, let's get it onto the bottom of my little stick person. Yeah, we're just making a stick person. We're not going to be judged for our artistic abilities here. Okay, I'll type in 30 again. Oh wait, I want it to go the opposite way. Hey, minus 30, right? Okay, cool. There you go. Oh, and we can see in 3D it was kind of hard to line up. And at this point, the the programmer in me wants things to be perfect, so I see that the body is at -10, so I want the legs to also be at -10. I'm just going to type that in so that they're perfect. There you go. Let's make arms now. I'm just going to duplicate these. Right in here, there's a duplicate. I can do that. Is that good? So there's our stick person. We got our stick person all set. The last thing I really want to show you here is hierarchy. It is called a hierarchy, but our hierarchy is flat. If I move the stick person around, like I move the body around, let's do that. Zoop. Oh wait, it gets separated from the rest of the body. I want to connect it, right? I want to connect the body. I want to be like the head is connected to the body. So I'm gonna choose head with my left mouse click and hold and drag and drop it on the body. Now, if I grab the body, the head, oops, grab the body, the head is connected to the body. I have a hierarchy. Let's make a full hierarchy out of this. I'm gonna multi-select, select them all, and just put them all on the body. So now if I drag the body, hello. Now if I drag the body around, I can move the entire stick person. What just happened? When I put the arm on the body, it got this weird squishiness to it, which happened because the scale that I applied, remember this non-uniform scale I applied to the body is going to be copied down into the children, which now is the arm. And I probably don't want that for my character. How am I going to get around that? I will suggest, let's do this. Let's create an empty game object, stick person. Hello, stick person. Just an empty game object, and let's put it, and this will be like a reference point, the core root object that everything else is connected to. And so I'll put it at 0, 0, -10. There, which is the floor right underneath the stick person. Let's connect all of the individual pieces to that. Now I can move the stick person around with just the one object, and I can move the individual pieces separately. And since they are not directly connected to each other, they are not inheriting their weird scales. Okay, so that's a good start. That's a hierarchy. We can use empty game objects. It's just an empty game object just for organizational purposes. And we can use these other game objects for, they have graphics on them. As you can see, there's a mesh renderer. So that's a 3D graphic on it, and also a capsule collider. So there's physics on this thing. One more thing I want to cover in this video, and that is scenes. We are looking at a particular scene, and we may want to save our scene. A scene is like a level. So in the simple beginner's point of view, a scene is just a level, and we can have several levels in our game. So let's save our scene, and I'll put it in the scenes folder. Must be under the assets folder, and we'll call this the stick person scene. So we can load that back up later, and we can in fact then program the game to go through our various scenes one at a time, or in whatever order we want them to go. Okay, so with that, let's call that the end of this video. We have covered how to move around in the scene using some various methods. We have created some simple objects using this game object creation menu, and we have connected them together. We've shown how to move them around and how to connect them into a hierarchy. And finally, we showed how to save them as a scene. In the next video, let's delve into how to begin with some scripting. We'll look into these scripts and show how to connect them to our objects, and then ultimately make something that acts like a game. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.